Super Robot Wars has been notoriously easy in the modern games, the VXT ones really pushing the systems to allow for easygoing gameplay. And while a difficult and balanced gameplay experience isn't necessarily the goal of the games, fans have been wanting more of a challenge. Super Expert Plus mode added in the expansion DLC for Super Robot Wars 30 is their answer to that, and honestly it's a good step in the right direction. I've only cleared it once so far, but I've put a lot of hours into a no carryover new game run of it, mostly for the early game, as that's where you'll get stuck immediately if you don't know what to do. In this video, I'll explain the restrictions and rules put in place for Super Expert Plus, and give my overall thoughts on the mode. I hope this video helps you out. So after purchasing the expansion DLC, which is not included in the deluxe versions of the game, you can start a new game on Super Expert Plus mode. The mode will read as follows. Start the main game in Super Expert mode, with additional rules. As you progress through the game, you can earn power parts that are not available in any other mode. The new rules will be explained after mode selection, after which you will have one more chance to confirm this mode. After selecting this mode, you will not be able to change it under options in the intermission. Right away, this mode commits us to this difficulty. Let's go through the rules and restrictions. Super Expert Plus mode is a game mode that adds additional restrictions to Super Expert mode. You can only choose it at the start of the playthrough, and you cannot change it during that playthrough. Basically, if you get stuck, you cannot lower the difficulty to progress. Enemy strength will be the same as hard mode until the point in the game where you are allowed to name your team. Afterwards, it will be the equivalent to Super Expert mode. The point where you get to name your team is where the Earth or space routes end, whichever you chose. This is where the game drops the hammer down on you, and you need to use the resources you got while doing the route stages strategically. More on this later. The following rules will be in effect from the start of the game. Removal of missions and events. Missions with names like the XX Front and exclamation point events on the world map will be disabled. These refer to the repeatable missions and the patrols that give some units a little bit of experience and score. Increased experience to level up. The experience points required to level up will increase from 500 to 4,000 points. This is a very large jump, so you will need to grind out side missions to get units up to appropriate levels by the end of the game. No experience rewarded for repair and resupply. The repair and resupply commands will no longer give experience to the unit. This makes the above rule even worse. Others command disabled on the enemy phase. The following spirit commands will be unavailable on units other than the active one on enemy phase. Foresee, Attune, Trust, Faith, Bless, Cheer, Wish, Resupply, and Prospect. This rule actually makes the game's spirit command system work similarly to pre-VTX Super Robot Wars games. You cannot use these commands on the enemy turn unless the unit itself has it in their spirit list. You can still use them like normal on your turn though, so preemptive foresees and attunes will be good to do. Additional loss condition. All missions will have the additional loss condition, any allied unit destroyed. Paired with the above rule, this makes overextending units really scary. You can no longer foresee or heal spam a unit to keep it alive if the enemy decides to gang up on it. Positioning is crucial now. No retrying after a game over. On receiving a game over, all resources gained during the mission will be lost, and you will be returned to the intermission before that mission. This isn't that bad, at least it doesn't kick you back to the title screen. Increased cost for upgrading units and weapons. Credit cost for unit and weapon upgrades will be greatly increased. Prepare to be broke all the time with this one. On the other modes, max upgrading a unit costs 1,634,500 credits. On Super Expert Plus, it now costs 11,760,000 to max upgrade a unit, and weapon upgrades themselves start at 400,000. Skill programs unavailable to produce. The following skill programs will be unavailable to produce with pilot points. Melee, range, hit, evade, defense, and skill. Basically the stat increases. This is where even doing carryover is rough. Maxing out a pilot's melee or range is where the big damage comes from, and now the only way to get them is either from the upgrade in the AOS that gives you one melee or range after every stage, or through onboard talks or certain enemy units that give them. Increased MXP for AOS upgrades. MXP cost for upgrades will be greatly increased. In the other modes, max upgrading the AOS costs 955,500 MXP. In Super Expert Plus, it costs 5,775,000 MXP. Since you can't buy stats with pilot points anymore, I actually recommend rushing the melee and range upgrades in the AOS so you can get to utilize them as early as possible. The last boss of the expansion needs some heavy damage done to them, so you really want a few units with maxed out damage stats. In Super Expert Plus mode, certain parts are available that cannot be obtained in any other mode. 8 in the main game, and 2 more in the extra chapter. You get these parts after finishing certain stages throughout the game, so you don't need to do anything specific to get them. These parts are also ridiculously strong. I have a video breaking them down, link in the description. That's all for the rules and restrictions for this mode. The challenge presented here is rather brutal, even if you're carrying over resources from a few playthroughs. A casual run of this is out of the question. You need some good knowledge and experience with the game systems to get through the later parts of the game. Now I'll give some tips on going through it, and my thoughts on the mode overall. First off, since you run the risk of flat out losing if any unit gets destroyed, you want to commit upgrades to specific units rather than spreading them out. This is especially important in a no carryover run. Super expert difficulty enemies are going to hit you, and they're going to hit you hard. For now, I've been using Red 5, Psybuster, and the Ikaruga as my carries, and have been committing my upgrades and score to them. Rushing their custom and ace bonuses has helped a ton. They don't run the risk of being shot down anymore. I honestly wouldn't even bother deploying units that aren't upgraded at all, or at least put them in the battleship. The first time I ran this with carryover, I was able to rush the starred missions and get through the expansion stages with a mostly easy time. I only used an upgraded Psybuster really, so the last boss was extremely difficult to deal with. I recommend as many units as you can upgrade completely will make things easier. If doing no carryover, you will need to do all the side stages to get resources to upgrade units since things are so expensive. I utilized the Lucky Star skill pretty early to help with credits, and used Fortune any chance I got. Same with Cheer on bosses for some extra experience. For the AOS, as I stated earlier, rushing the melee and range production upgrade early will help you with the damage necessary later on. The last boss has 940k HP and potential level 9, so you need to have some pretty big hitters by that time. Any of the main units from each series will do fine, so pick whoever you want. The only support units I would really use are resuppliers. If using units to dodge tank, healing won't be necessary, but energy might be an issue, since you're only going to have a few units to deal with enemies. I keep them far back and send units back to get resupplied when needed. Also, you do get some parts that activate Valor and Soul, so I recommend having a unit or two that could give these parts to your carries to deal with bosses. Now for my thoughts on the mode. Definitely a step in the right direction. I do like them restricting certain things and forcing you into the difficulty. I never cared much for self-imposed challenges. I like it when I'm forced to adapt to the game itself. The balance is a bit wacky, and some stages are pretty much impossible to do, at least early on, such as the stages for getting Mikazuki and Shiriko. Mika only has Excel early on, and you don't have access to supporter commands, so good luck shooting down 4 units with 100% accuracy while the Barbatos has less than 50%. He only takes like 2 hits too, so that's a problem. Kinda wish they'd balance certain stages for this, like making the units significantly weaker to at least make it possible. I think the credit and MXP cost increases are fine, though they pretty much force you to commit to upgrading things a certain way. Can't wait to get through a full no carryover run of this mode. It'll be quite the challenge. Let me know if you'd like to see it on a live stream. I'm actually upgrading my internet soon, so hopefully those upload speed issues will go away. In any case, that's it for the video. Let me know what you guys think of Super Expert Plus mode. I'd like to hear your thoughts, especially those that have been craving a more difficult experience. And if you're new here and enjoy mecha in general, consider subscribing, as this channel is dedicated to it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.